Everything seemed perfect. Love, trust, and a strong marriage that had lasted nearly 2 decades. But then, in a single fateful moment, it all came crashing down. He came home earlier than expected, only to find an unfamiliar car in the driveway. His heart pounded as he stepped toward the bedroom window. And what he saw next changed his life forever. No longer just a devoted husband, he became a man betrayed. But instead of drowning in sorrow, he struck back in a way no one saw coming. This marriage was no longer a love story. It had become a battlefield where the betrayer had to pay the price. Join Pam Pam as we uncover this gripping story, a hard-hitting lesson in betrayal, loss, and the cost of broken trust. Don't forget to leave a comment and share your thoughts on this shocking tale. Love enveloped me so completely that I could never have foreseen this turn of events in my life. Not with her, my wife and dearest companion of almost 2 decades. I am currently working out of town and had not planned to return until this evening. Our departure for a 2-week road trip was scheduled for tomorrow. The pace at work had dwindled, prompting my return home yesterday afternoon. This journey was intended to provide us with a moment of solitude, a respite from the whirlwind of family and friends that has filled our summer days. Upon arriving home, I was met with an unfamiliar truck parked in my driveway. Recently, my neighbor inquired about my thoughts on the new truck, but I assumed he was simply mistaken and didn't dwell on it further. The moment the truck came into view, a dreadful sensation twisted in my stomach. I cherished my wife and placed my unwavering trust in her. Yet that sensation lingered, powerful and undeniable. I crept stealthily to the side of the house, approaching our bedroom window. The door stood ajar, and as I approached, their voices drifted toward me, clear and inviting. As I peered through the glass, the chilling truth of my deepest dread was laid bare before me. They lay before me, utterly bare upon my bed. I turned and left. I find myself grappling with a compelling desire to act, fully aware that such a choice would lead to inevitable regret. At this juncture, I find it increasingly difficult to muster any concern for my own fate. I spent the night at my family's cabin, indulging in every drink available. As I made my way home, the thought of confronting her lingered in my mind. Yet I ultimately chose to hold back. I find myself unprepared. All that courses through me is a seething rage. My mind is consumed by thoughts of violence. At this moment, I find myself in a rather difficult situation. I feel unworthy of her presence. I have returned to the cabin now. I possess a 60-ounce bottle of rum, and I find myself gazing at it for the past hour. I yearn to indulge in oblivion, to drown my sorrows in drink. Yet I hesitate, wary of the poor choices that may follow in its wake. This moment stands as a pivotal juncture in my existence, where the choices I make in the days ahead will shape the trajectory of my future. That is the very reason for my presence. I require assistance. I find myself unprepared to engage with family or friends, which leads me to seek solace in the company of strangers. Forget this world. Revision 1. The level of support and guidance I have encountered is truly remarkable. I found myself quite emotional, reflecting on the abundance of wonderful individuals ready to extend a hand to someone they don't even know. It offers a glimmer of hope for the world at a time when I needed it most. Amidst all this support, I find myself grappling with the challenge of responding to others. My inbox is overflowing with more than 600 unread private messages, alongside several hundred comments waiting for my attention. I wish to express my gratitude to each of you personally, and I am committed to making that happen. However, it may take some time, so for now, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to all for your thoughtful messages and invaluable advice. It holds significant value for me. I have observed a number of recurring comments and inquiries that merit some clarification alongside my brief update. It's evident that today brings a sense of improvement for me. The agony nearly vanished entirely. I still feel as though I've been struck in the stomach, yet I have started to gaze toward what lies ahead. 2 days have passed, and this just doesn't feel right to me. Is this a tranquil pause before the tempest, or am I simply unnaturally steadfast? In response to the questions and comments I've gathered, here are some key points to clarify a few matters. When I mentioned wife and best friend, I was alluding to the dual roles my wife embodied in my life. The other individual was neither my closest companion nor even someone I was familiar with. Though my view was fleeting and the details were scant, the brief encounter and the sight of his vehicle leave me with the impression that he is not someone familiar to me. We are without children. We had intentions of having them in the near future, however. We have recently finalized the sale of our house and are preparing to relocate nearer to my workplace in September, coinciding with the new owners taking possession. I plan to express my gratitude to my neighbor, but I intend to do so in a subtle manner, much like he did for me. Many individuals have been inquiring about the signs I previously referenced as being overlooked. At the forefront of my thoughts, here are a few. I found myself texting at an unusually late hour, frequently indulged in post-work libations with friends. This behavior was uncharacteristic of her, yet I found myself pleased to see her engaging with others. She attended yoga once a week, yet it seemed she wasn't contributing financially, as one of her colleagues was the instructor, and she assisted with the setup and cleanup. I found it quite surprising that she exhibited such rigidity, especially for someone who practiced yoga. Unidentified callers disconnecting. We often respond to each other's calls when one of us is nearer to the phone. On multiple occasions, she received calls from an unknown number, only for the caller to disconnect as soon as she picked up. Our phone rings incessantly with spam calls, typically from telemarketers or debt collectors seeking the former owner of this number. It is seldom a hindrance. The update remains a work in progress. Upon my brother's arrival, we engaged in a lengthy and meaningful conversation. He has been my genuine best friend, and I have come to understand the importance of always cherishing that bond. I know he will be there for me without judgment, just as I would be for him. He truly exemplifies the essence of genuine friendship, even when we find ourselves at odds from time to time. As I had intended to be home last night, I chose to reply to my wife's message. Given the restrictions on phone use at the site, it was only natural for me to limit my communication to texting her. She understands how effortlessly I can slip in a few messages. I reached out to her, explaining that I had to visit one of my company's remote locations and wouldn't be able to call until the weekend concluded. I informed her that I would go ahead and cancel all the reservations, planning to rebook at a later time. She mentioned that she could bring her best friend along this weekend to the charming bed and breakfast on the vineyard that I reserved. I sensed that the friend she wished for me to believe would be attending was not the one she truly desired. I informed her that I had already entrusted it to my brother and his wife, as it was non-refundable, and they would reimburse me in a month. This morning, I decided to cancel all the reservations, save for the one that promised romance. My brother accompanied me on my journey. Fortunately, the hotel allowed us to change our reservation from the honeymoon suite to a room featuring 2 beds. A picturesque lake and convenient boat rentals await nearby, transforming this into a long overdue fishing expedition with my brother. I find myself unencumbered for the weekend ahead. The absence of the need to write or converse with her for a few days brings a sense of relief, allowing me the space to gather my thoughts more freely. I find myself contemplating the possibility of divorce. It's difficult for me to envision an alternative perspective. My brother stands by me in this, yet he has suggested that I take a few weeks to consult with someone. His wife has a friend, a couples counselor, who is open to having a conversation with me on Monday. I doubt it will alter my perspective, yet perhaps it could assist in unraveling some of this confusion for me. I am heeding much of the counsel shared here and beginning conversations with lawyers, at the very least to ready myself for what I believe is unavoidable. I aspire to execute this with precision. I never envisioned her as the type to betray me, yet the thought of her infidelity caught me off guard. It seems wise to brace myself for whatever may come. Thank you once more, everyone. I shall endeavor to savor every moment of my weekend to the fullest. Revision 2. Much has transpired in recent days. I shall begin with the matters of lesser significance. My brother Daniel and I embarked on a nearly 5-hour journey to the charming B&B on the vineyard. I truly value his presence and support during this time. It served more as a cathartic release than anything else, yet it truly aided in clarifying my thoughts. Having spent the majority of the drive expressing my discontent, I yearned for a moment of solitude, while he was eager to venture out for dinner. I remained in the room while he ventured out to dine, returning with some food for me. He successfully arranged for a boat to be ready for the following day. On Saturday, we ventured onto the water. The proprietor of the B&B was aware of our fishing plans and kindly prepared a small cooler filled with food and drinks for us. Their approach transformed the romantic package into something truly beneficial for the two brothers. The gesture was indeed a pleasant one. The fishing proved to be quite disappointing. We each managed to catch a few trout, but their size meant we had to release them. Thankfully, the snacks from the B&B were a perfect complement to our outing. We paused our fishing endeavors in the mid-afternoon and embarked on a journey through the vineyards and fruit stands, gathering provisions and cases of wine for Daniel's wife, Sophie. That evening, we sought out the largest tomahawk steak available. On Sunday, we made our way back to Daniel's abode. He resides in the neighboring town, roughly an hour's journey from my home. Upon our arrival, Sophie was already present, and we gathered together to uncork a bottle of white wine that had been chilling in the cooler. The moment had arrived when the weekend drew to a close for me. Sophie confided in me that during our absence, she took it upon herself to observe my wife discreetly. She recounted how the man had been at my home on Friday night, lingering until the early hours. Yet on Saturday morning, she arrived just in time to see him departing. She trailed him to his residence, discovering the apartment that was his sanctuary. My wife spent the night over there on Saturday. At that very moment, she was sending me messages filled with declarations of love and longing. Sophie mentioned that she was dividing her time between visiting family in my town and keeping an eye on my wife. She mentioned that she unexpectedly saw my wife exiting his apartment on Sunday morning and managed to snap a few photos of them embracing and sharing a kiss before she drove away. I have no desire to encounter them. That essentially clinched the agreement for me. Trusting her again seems impossible to me if she can so effortlessly switch her feelings, professing love for me while being involved with another man. Nevertheless, I resolved to refrain from reacting impulsively out of emotion. I must maintain my composure and steadiness. It was then that Sophie revealed to me that Rebecca would be joining us for dinner. Rebecca is the counselor with whom Sophie arranged my appointment. To clarify, she has not yet crossed paths with my wife, and this marked my inaugural encounter with her as well. Rebecca possessed a warmth that made her a truly delightful individual, and our rapport flourished beautifully. Following dinner, Rebecca and I strolled through Daniel's neighborhood, taking the dogs along as we engaged in a more intimate conversation. Rebecca proved to be incredibly supportive as she possessed the remarkable ability to listen attentively, allowing me to feel at ease and unguarded. It felt liberating to express my emotions so openly. While I share a deep bond with my brother, this experience felt distinct and profoundly necessary. It's the very reason I enjoy sharing this on Reddit. This is a cathartic moment, allowing me to unravel the chaos swirling within my mind. The hour we spent walking together was marked by a singular piece of wisdom from Rebecca. Do not postpone that conversation with my wife. She expressed that the more time I allow to pass, the more difficult it will be to discuss this matter with her. She expressed that what she requires most at this juncture is clarity, and that my wife is the sole individual capable of providing it. Later that evening, Sophie and Daniel extended an invitation for me to stay with them for as long as I needed. Understanding the inevitable timeline of my proximity to Daniel, I took the initiative to discuss my situation with my boss, who graciously arranged for me to stay in company housing. I have been visiting every other week for some time now, yet I must depart on my days off. He successfully arranged for me to remain full-time for a few months, should I require it. I have chosen to reschedule my appointment with Rebecca for later this week. I concluded that our stroll was adequate for the initial meeting. She acquiesced. On Sunday night, I found myself lying in bed, contemplating the best way to tackle this situation. I found myself grappling with this, as even the fictional scenes playing out in my mind stirred feelings of anger and sadness within me. I resolved to embrace spontaneity. I typically excel when faced with pressure. Yesterday, I rose from slumber and bid farewell to Daniel and Sophie. As I made my way home, a thought lingered in my mind. What if he was there waiting for me upon my arrival? In that moment, I realized it would probably only return me to the place of anger I had occupied just days prior. I chose to take a preliminary drive-by. Neither his truck nor my wife's car was present. I stepped inside and collected a handful of essentials, along with cherished items I couldn't bear to leave behind, primarily some photographs and treasured family heirlooms. I loaded everything into my truck and made my way to the man's apartment. Her vehicle was absent as well, yet his truck stood prominently in its place. I chose to reach out to her to discover her whereabouts. She mentioned that she was off to gather some groceries. My trust in her has dwindled to such an extent that I found myself driving past the grocery store, needing to verify her presence there. It pains me to confess this, yet here I am, grappling with the weight of my shattered trust. In this tumultuous sea of uncertainty, it seems to be the only anchor I can cling to. I reached out to her once more, urging her to return home, as there were matters we needed to discuss. She replied, "What's the matter?" I simply replied, indicating that she must be prepared for honesty, and then I switched off my phone. She arrived home a quarter of an hour later. As she entered, she approached me to offer a familiar embrace and a kiss, just as she always does. I averted my gaze from her. Once more she inquired about my troubles, prompting me to express that she must begin to embrace honesty with me. She feigned ignorance, claiming she had no clue what I was referring to. I declared, "Very well, if honesty eludes you, then I shall take my leave." At this moment, she began to feel a surge of panic and exclaimed, "Are you referring to yoga?" I thought it marked the beginning. I inquired about her conversation, and she revealed that she had not been attending yoga classes. Here's a brief overview of the remainder of the discussion. Where were you headed if not to yoga? In an effort to find solace amidst the chaos, I took to walking, seeking a moment of tranquility to ease the weight of my recent stress. What caused you such distress? What compelled you to deceive me regarding your actions? The preparations for the move have been weighing heavily on my mind, and I found it difficult to express that to you. Was lying truly the choice you settled upon? What was your hesitation in sharing that you were going for a walk to unwind? I never intended to deceive. I feared that my anxiety might compound your own. However, I find myself free from stress. It truly feels as though you're holding back some details from me. Could you clarify what you mean? I suspect there's more to your story than merely skipping yoga. I implore you once more to speak truthfully. Your previous dishonesty has created a barrier. This cannot succeed if deception continues. I'm at a loss for words. Are you referring to the previous weekend when I enjoyed some drinks with friends and returned home quite late? I sensed that something was troubling you. I was completely unaware that she had gone out for drinks or stayed out late. I found myself at work, a few hours distant from home. Did you truly do that night, or was that just another fabrication? I ventured out for drinks that evening, yet her best friend, who was said to be in her company, eluded my sight. Whom did you encounter? Not a soul. I found myself sipping in solitude. Are you sipping in solitude these days? Indeed, it seems I might be facing an issue. Perhaps. We shall discuss that at a later time. This is your final opportunity. Speak truthfully, or I will take my leave. Well, I'm at a bit of a loss for words. Very well, I shall take my leave now. At this juncture, I rose and departed. Typically, during an argument, I seek a way to distance myself from her. She likely believed this was no different. It was then that she understood I had taken not only my clothes and toiletries, but also the Xbox. It was then that she started inundating my phone with messages. I expressed to her that I had offered her the opportunity to be truthful, yet she chose not to, leaving us with nothing more to discuss. She implored and urged me to return home to discuss this face to face. She claimed to be completely unaware of why I was feeling so distressed or what actions of hers I believed had caused it. She reiterated her love for me, assuring me that she would never cause me pain. Her words pierced through me, leaving an ache that felt all-consuming. There were words that wrapped around me like a warm embrace, words I accepted without a hint of doubt. Now it's a blunt, serrated blade tearing through my heart in the most agonizing manner. I found it overwhelming, so I ended the call. She rang back nearly 40 times before I felt prepared to respond once more. This time she inquired, "Did you speak with Linda?" Her closest companion. I inquired about the reason, and she replied, "Come home." I prefer not to discuss this over the phone. I consented and continued to drive for a while, allowing my heart rate to gradually return to a calmer state. After that, I made my way home. The dialogue unfolded in the following manner. I take it you had a conversation with Linda? I remained silent. Not long ago, during your hours at work, we decided to go out for drinks. Two gentlemen began treating us to drinks, and we decided to go along with it. As we were departing, one of the gentlemen made an attempt to kiss me. I swiftly distanced myself and informed him of my marital status. I felt a deep sense of regret and yearned to share my thoughts with you. Yet I acted foolishly and chose to conceal the truth instead. Linda connected with another guy and, without my consent, shared my number with his friend. He has sent me a few messages since then, yet I have never responded to him. May I take a look at your phone? Indeed. She revealed her phone to me, its screen devoid of any messages, save for those exchanged between her mother and me. She always keeps her texts, so this was unexpected. I examined her photos, all of which were pristine, yet when I delved into the deleted ones, I stumbled upon an image of a man I did not recognize. Who might this be? That is the man who attempted to kiss me. What prompted you to capture an image of him? I was merely acting foolishly. That does not constitute a valid justification. What prompted you to capture an image of him? I'm uncertain. Is that all you wish to share with me, or is there something more to unveil? That is the entirety of my thoughts. Once more I departed. I had no desire to be that trickle-truthed. I climbed into my truck and drove off into the distance. She dashed outside, desperate to halt my escape, yet I had already slipped beyond her grasp. I found myself at the nearby park, perched on my tailgate, savoring my lunch while contemplating my next move. During my time there, I found myself recalling various aspects that I ought to have paid closer attention to. For instance, I found myself on a weekend shift while she settled into bed early. My wife ventured out to the club, accompanied by a few of her girlfriends. At 4 a.m., I found myself awake, yet she had not yet returned. I attempted to reach her several times, yet my calls went unanswered. Approximately half an hour later, she returned my call and inquired if I could come to pick her up. As I arrived to collect her, she recounted their unsuccessful attempts to summon a taxi, their efforts thwarted at every turn. A pair of acquaintances of her friend paused to extend a ride, though they wished to make a brief detour to their home first. Upon arriving at the man's residence, her married companion entered a room with one of the gentlemen. My wife mentioned that she dedicated some time to searching for her, but ultimately decided to abandon the quest and instead enjoyed a drink in the kitchen with the roommates as she waited. She asserted that she was oblivious to her phone ringing when I attempted to reach her. After much contemplation, she found herself repulsed by her friend's behavior. Thus, she severed ties with that friend. I believe that chapter had closed. On another occasion, she journeyed to see a dear friend in a distant city. The evening was meticulously arranged for a gathering of friends. 4 girls lounged together, indulging in drinks and immersing themselves in movies, all while clad in their cozy pajamas. That is at least what I was informed. At the stroke of 1 a.m., she reached out to bid me good night. Our conversation lasted around 20 minutes, during which she consistently mentioned how much fun they were having on their girls' night. In the distance, a man's voice echoed softly, breaking the silence. I inquired about the identity of the person, yet she initially refuted having heard anything at all. Once more, it occurred with a resounding force. She couldn't deny it. She acknowledged that her ex had taken a couple of guys with her. Everyone here is extremely frustrated about it. She found herself intoxicated, and 3 hours distant. She compelled me to place my trust in her. Once more we clashed over that matter and the reason behind her reluctance to reveal their presence to me. She vowed to never find herself in such a predicament again. It is evident that this did not take hold. Having recalled all those moments and the discussions we shared, I felt prepared to take this final chance. As I powered my phone back on, it rang almost instantly. I responded, and her voice echoed with urgency, pleading for my return home. I made my way back to the house. I stepped inside only to be met with the sight of her weeping uncontrollably. She sat on the couch, her voice a soft echo. I'm so sorry, I inquired. Sorry for what exactly? She started to sway back and forth, her movements erratic and wild. She needed a solid 5 minutes to regain her breath before she could utter a word. I fabricated a story about the man who attempted to kiss me. All right, please share the details of what transpired. That night, the four of us found our way back to his place. We engaged in playful antics. It was evident to me that there was something deeper at play, yet the mere sound of her words sent a wave of dizziness through me. The walls seemed to close in around me, while a cacophony of voices buzzed incessantly in my ears, each vying for my attention. It seems I may have experienced a panic attack. I made my way to the bathroom, splashing my face with cold water until the world around me settled back into its familiar rhythm. What actions did you take? Are you truly interested in hearing what I have to say? Indeed. Very well, we shall forego the explicit descriptions, yet it was indeed quite dire. Is that all there is? Indeed. I refuse to continue with this game any longer. You must reveal all to me at this very moment, or this shall be our final conversation. Once more, she succumbed to tears, her sobs echoing in the silence as she struggled to regain her composure, taking several moments before words could finally escape her lips. We reunited and shared an intimate moment. I sincerely apologize. I cherish you deeply and am willing to go to great lengths to atone for this. Only that one occasion? If I reveal the truth, I kindly ask for the opportunity to make amends in any way possible. Kindly, I shall ponder it. It was a clandestine liaison. During your absence for work, we found ourselves entangled in a series of clandestine encounters. It has persisted for nearly a month at this point. He is wed, and they stand on the brink of separation. Is he aware of your marital status? Indeed. If he is engaging in an affair due to the deterioration of his marriage, does that imply you believe ours is also in decline? Did you really say that to him? I believe ours is not failing. I feel incredibly foolish. I harbor a deep disdain for my own being. Kindly, I ask you to stay by my side. This can be resolved. In what manner? Anything you desire. If you found yourself in my position, or perhaps in the position of his wife, what solution would bring you peace? Understanding the reality, having the confidence that your words hold true meaning. Trust is something I hold dear. I made a mistake and I assure you it won't happen again. If you found yourself in the role of his wife, wouldn't the desire for the truth be a natural inclination? Indeed. Subsequently, rectify this. Are you asking if I should reach out to her? If that is indeed what you desire. She attempted to reach out, yet no response came her way. Moments later, the sound of her cell phone pierced the silence. It was categorized as Linda Work. Her expression was one of disbelief, revealing to me that this was not Linda. I inquired whether it was indeed him. She claimed it was. I responded. In a display of his characteristic timidity, he muttered, "Oops, I must have the wrong number." I declared, "No, this is the spouse of the woman with whom you've been unfaithful. I will allow you to converse with her as she has something important to share with you." I handed her the phone. I revealed all to him. He possesses the complete truth. It is finished. It was merely a fleeting encounter. Please refrain from reaching out to me in the future. I requested to glimpse the phone prior to her ending the call. Which divorce attorney have you chosen to represent you? I refuse to entertain the notion of divorce. Oh, but didn't you mention to your wife that you were? Negative. Very well. May I have a word with your wife? I believe she deserves to be informed about this just as much as I do. Kindly, my friend. I was unaware of her marital status. Please don't jeopardize my marriage because of an error. You shattered my world over a mere error. It seems only just that I inform your wife. I kindly ask you to refrain from doing that. At this moment, she is engaged in her work. I shall reveal all to her upon her return home. I truly swear. Very well, proceed with that. That was the moment I decided to end the call. I inquired of my wife whether she was aware of the name of his wife and the place where she was employed. She certainly did. My wife reached out to inquire about her at the office. I managed to reach her on the phone and suggested she take a seat. A woman mentioned that she was preparing to leave for the day and would return my wife's call from her car. She certainly did. His spouse. What is happening? My beloved spouse. I bear news of a grave nature, and my intention is to avoid any unfortunate consequences. I kindly ask that you refrain from driving. Oh my goodness. Has there been a change regarding his name? Absolutely not. He is currently at your apartment. I wanted to share that we have been involved in an affair for the past month. I am revealing the truth to my husband at this moment and felt it was only fair to extend the same courtesy to you. She fell into silence for a moment, then spoke with a steely resolve. If this is some twisted joke, I will uncover your identity. With that, she ended the call. Less than 10 minutes passed when my wife received a message from Linda Work stating, "Thanks, you just ruined my life." I seized the phone and replied, "You have just shattered 4 lives and 2 marriages. Remember, this situation arose because of your actions, you worthless individual." For the next hour, my wife implored and entreated me to remain by her side. She extended her services in counseling. She promised to always remain by my side. She even extended to me certain intimate propositions. This met all my expectations, largely due to the insights shared here. She then suggested that we embark on that vacation, her indulgence. Her rationale was the necessity for some time apart. It's essential for us to carve out some quality time together, as my work commitments have been creating distance between us recently. Indeed, it was precisely what I anticipated her response would be. She was taken aback when I revealed that I had gone after all. She was taken aback when I revealed that I had already scheduled counseling for myself. She was certainly taken aback when I revealed that I had caught her on my very own bed. It was likely beyond her expectations that I had already secured a place to stay. Upon hearing my words, she collapsed to the ground, tears streaming down her face. She began to express her feelings of unworthiness, claiming that she didn't deserve to exist. She urged me to end her life at this very moment, claiming she was too wretched to deserve anyone's company. It continued in that manner for some time. I spent 4 hours in her company, enduring a stream of excuses, followed by attempts to hug me, cuddle, or even offer intimate favors in hopes that I would remain and navigate the situation alongside her. Ultimately, I reached out to Linda and informed her that her unfaithful friend was in a state of despair, urging her to come and watch over her. After that, I departed. Nearly a day has passed since that incident unfolded, and I have yet to exchange a word with her. She has been reaching out to me through calls and messages all day long. All day long, I have been receiving calls and messages from her friends and family. Each individual presents a unique rationale or a distinct appeal for understanding and compassion. Her father is the sole person who reached out to me, expressing that I must prioritize what is best for myself. He assured me that his love for me, akin to that of a son, remains unwavering regardless of the circumstances. Experiencing that brought forth a cathartic release, allowing me to shed tears for the first time since this journey began. I have a meeting scheduled with Rebecca, my counselor, tomorrow, followed by an appointment with a lawyer on Thursday. I sense you might anticipate the direction of this, yet until it unfolds, uncertainty lingers in every thought. Concluding update. This previous week unfolded with remarkable occurrences. I find myself oscillating between the camp and my brother's residence. I strive to impose as little as possible on them, so I only stay over on nights preceding an early appointment. My company has graciously granted me a few weeks for personal time, which has proven to be an incredible support. I have persisted in my visits to Rebecca, the therapist. I have encountered her on 3 separate occasions thus far. I find myself in a more favorable state of mind compared to last week. Although I don't perceive our visits as particularly productive, they do provide a valuable opportunity to untangle some thoughts swirling in my mind. Thus, I shall continue onward for the time being. Last Thursday, I had a conversation with a lawyer. Under their guidance, I compiled a comprehensive list of all assets and finances, encompassing debts as well. I proceeded to the bank and requested that they place a hold on our accounts, ensuring that no one could withdraw funds without the presence of the other party. Our individual paychecks are deposited into our personal accounts, ensuring that neither of us will be hindered in accessing new funds. It merely affects the old and shared finances. The lawyer advised against confronting her until the papers were served, but alas, that moment has already passed. Throughout the week, I found myself inundated with calls and texts from my wife, her family, and her friends, each message arriving in a steady stream. This past weekend, my sister-in-law orchestrated a delightful family gathering at the cabin. I ventured forth to deliver the shocking news to my family. At least it's now laid bare, allowing me to incorporate them into my journey of healing. Everything was unfolding as wonderfully as one could hope until Saturday night arrived. As the clock approached 8 p.m., I found myself gathered around the fire with my brother and father, when suddenly my wife's car came into view. My brother Daniel assured me that he would handle it. My father and I chose to take a stroll around the grounds, away from the view of the driveway. As we stepped into the forest, the piercing sound of my wife's voice cut through the air, demanding my brother to move aside. Accompanied by a few friends, she raised her voice at Daniel, urging him to tend to his own affairs. He endeavored with great courage, yet in the end, they proved to be more than he could manage. She slipped by him and hurried straight toward us. She must have caught sight of his head positioned like that. My father proposed to handle the situation, yet I insisted that I would take care of it myself. My wife, whom I shall refer to as Emma for the sake of simplicity, rushed towards me in tears. She reached out for a hug without hesitation, and I allowed it, though I made no move to embrace her in return. She implored me to simply engage in conversation with her. With a nod of agreement, we strolled along the winding trails of the property, seeking a moment of solitude. Emma informs me that the other man's wife has departed from him. She recounted how he had called, his voice laced with desperation, threatening to take his own life and placing the weight of his anguish squarely on her shoulders. She asserts that she instructed him to simply go ahead and has not communicated with him since. Emma then retrieves a piece of paper and begins to enumerate the ways she vows to atone for her actions. Once more, these are all the things she presented on that initial day, ranging from couples counseling to intimate requests. In that moment, she completely surprised me. She expresses her desire to no longer endure this existence. She expressed her desire for us to leave our jobs behind and embark on a journey to live abroad. Let's finally bring to life that charming beach bar we've often dreamed about. She declared that she would depart immediately if I chose to accompany her. In an effort to frame my thoughts, I found myself reflecting on my life after divorce this past week, and this was the singular notion that occupied my mind. I contemplated an entire reset of all that is. As I embark on this significant transformation, it seems only fitting to embrace another facet and pursue precisely what I desire. Hearing her express the very same desire pulled me back into that familiar ache of longing for her and the wish to be by her side. In that instant, I realized it was time to bring the dialogue to a close. I escorted her to her car, where her friends awaited her arrival. I conveyed to her my openness to engage in a phone conversation, yet I couldn't guarantee anything further than that. It soothed her sufficiently to depart. Each night, our conversations unfold over the phone, yet they remain unchanged. She weeps and pleads for another opportunity. Frustration wells up within me as I confront her actions, and with a decisive click, I end the call. I find myself grappling with an overwhelming sense of longing for her absence. For decades, she held the title of my closest confidant, and now the absence of that cherished voice weighs heavily on my heart. The realization that all the dreams and plans we once cherished have been cast aside is utterly heartbreaking. I yearn to gather my belongings and embark on a fresh journey in a new place. I longed for that connection with her, yet she shattered it. She took that from me.